What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Dudes Who Bet Daily for July 28th, 2022. Closing on the end of the month here, day 11 of the Saratoga meet. We got 40 days in total, so 29 more days to cash some tickets. Yesterday got a little kooky, Aaron. I know you were live into the late pick 5 there into that last race, and D-Wayne comes up and snipes you in the ankle. That was a kind of a brutal way to go out there.
It sucked. There's no doubt about it. Yeah, I felt really good going into that last race, too. I felt like I had the horses covered. We were kind of talking before. I was four deep to finish it in the race before. We were a little worried about a lone speed horse who was lone speed, but stopped, thankfully, and got to that last leg. And, yeah, it looked like the first-time starter for Chad Brown was going to jump up and win the race. And, yeah, D-Wayne got us. Kind of went up the rail there and got us. And it's funny because we were talking about it on the show. We talked about that last leg and how tough it was going to be. And then, boom, comes up and gets us. So that definitely sucked.
Yeah, that was not fun. Yesterday was an interesting day all around. We had 3 bets. I thought my 11 ran really well, but Miracle first start out of the Rudolph Brissett barn gives Mendelssohn his first-time starter victory, and that horse looks like he's going to be pointed to some stakes races later in the meet. He looked phenomenal out there on the track. I think the Asmussen horse actually is very good too, so I'm interested in seeing Baltera come back as well. Any thoughts on Miracle there, Jared? Did you get to see the debut?
I did not. So I've been busy with the boys, and we've been going crazy over here. But I did watch the late pick 5 sequence. I'm sorry, Halterman, about that. Yeah, it was almost. I don't want to be too much of a jerk, but it was a little funny that it was D-Wayne. Just because it's like anytime D-Wayne beats you in any kind of race, you secretly. Maybe not immediately, but later you're like, all right, that's okay. Because it's D-Wayne. We love D-Wayne, but that was brutal. I thought that horse, your horse, was going to get by the entire stretch. And sorry. Hey, you can't win them all. You had a great week last week, okay?
Yeah. I mean, you look at the D-Wayne horse, and it's 2 races where the filly wasn't very good, but got Ortiz aboard yesterday, and it's just you can't play them all, and that's the whole thing. You're trying to get within a budget, and it's a $96 ticket, and it is what it is, right?
Yeah, and these 2 real races are separators in these sequences, right? Because you're either going 5-6 deep and trying to get to one of these horses, or you're trying to go skinny, go 2 or 3 deep, and give yourself a real advantage in the rest of the ticket compared to the people you're playing against, because they are going to naturally be spread races because there's not a ton of information about the horses. So people will want to take more shots there and take a few more chances. We had 2 baseball games, both of them involving blown saves for our team, which is wonderful. One of them wins in extra innings. The other one just blows it out right in the bottom of the 9th. So we ended up 1-2 yesterday. Not too bad. I thought we were going to end up 2-1 at least with that baseball game going, but we're back at it today. We'll get it going. Before we jump into that, let's talk a little bit about the stakes cards over at Saratoga as well as Del Mar. We'll actually hold off a little on the Del Mar since Jared's pick is going to come from that race. Let's talk about the 5th year at Saratoga, the Birdstone, $200,000. We're going 1.75 miles over the Saratoga main track. We've got Fearless. We've got Lone Rock back at it, banging heads again. Portos is back as well. 5-horse field total. Jared, when you take a look at this race, what do you kind of see from a pace perspective? Do you think it's Fearless that goes out? Does Lone Rock try and go out? And are you willing to take Lone Rock at 6-5 after what we saw last time against I'd say a little bit better field than this, but still 2 horses in here that are better than what he's generally been facing?
Yeah, Lone Rock last time out was just very disappointing, for a horse that, obviously is the defending champ in this race and it's been a great horse, for a horse like Lone Rock who runs in these kind of races and has won over almost $1.4 million. That says a lot about the horse. 6-5, it's just too, even if like Fearless isn't in the race, like Lone Rock at 6-5 is just dicey for me. Fearless has been, it's hard to kind of be against Fearless. I feel like this horse continues to kind of get better. Pletcher runs this horse in the right races, it feels like. And, this is going longer than the horse has ever, 1 3/4 miles, but there's nothing that tells me that the horse doesn't want to go longer. I mean, look at this horse run. To me, and you guys can, laugh if you want, or you can let me know your thoughts on Portos, but I like Pratt jumping aboard here, and a horse that's 8-1 is going to be completely overlooked. And I'm not saying it wouldn't be a total shock if the horse is going. This is a distance the horse probably can if there's a chance for this horse to upset. I feel like it's like one of these crazy long races, mile and 3/4, that just the pace just falls apart, and this horse just kind of keeps coming.
Yeah, it's interesting that Pletcher decides to put Portos in here with Fearless, who's going so well for him. Fearless, really cool horse, 13 for 16 in the exacta career-wise. And Lone Rock, I mean, all credit to him, 16 for 41 career. So two horses that love to win, love to run well. They're also your likely speed. I mean, do we see a speed duel here going 1 3/4 over the main track, which would be kind of crazy? And then what do you think of the jockey roulette too, Aaron? I mean, we've got Irad jumping aboard for the first time on Lone Rock, and as Jared mentioned, Pratt going to Portos. Did the jockeys affect your picks at all? Do you think that there's a chance that the 1 and the 2 hook up and it sets up for the 4?
I don't think there's any chance the 1 and 2 hook up. I think they're definitely smart enough not to do that. Listen, Fearless, easy winner over Lone Rock last time out. I don't know if Irad makes that big of a difference to jump up and get the win. So I went Fearless and went pretty short in this race. You know, Portos, he was in the race in the Brooklyn last time too, right? And so I think, to me, Irad going to Lone Rock might be a sign that at Portos, he just doesn't think he's good enough. And they were like, look, Vasquez isn't here. Do you want this ride in a 5-horse field for $200,000 on a horse that won it, you know, and usually wins these marathon races? Sure, I'll take it. So I kind of think that's how that broke down. But the bottom line is Fearless absolutely dominated him. There really wasn't an excuse for Lone Rock. Maybe Irad makes that difference of 3 lengths, but I don't think he does. So I think Fearless kind of rolls in this spot.
Well, we talked about prior to the Brooklyn, we talked about how that was the toughest field that Lone Rock really has ever faced. If you look at who he's beat, it's horses like Thomas Shelby, it's horses like Last Samurai, Hoosier, Tis a Magician. Tis a Magician, probably the best horse he's beaten prior going into that race, and Fearless, much better horse than that. I mean, so you have a little bit tougher competition here. I did the preview for the site. I'm actually going to play a cold 1-4 exact and see if we can run Lone Rock out. I mean, that's my way of trying to make some money here, because I do think that Fearless is going to be awfully tough in this spot. All right, let's jump over. Let's talk a little bit about baseball before we jump into our best bets. We've got 3 of them coming from the horse racing world. We've got Papa Dude sending one in from the clouds here. He is headed. He's going to take the Guardians here, -120 on the MLB side. It's Tristan McKenzie Day, who I fell in love with. We talked about this quite a bit. 2 bad starts against the Twins, but absolutely lights out the rest of the season. Is the pitching matchup the reason he's headed over here to take Cleveland?
Yep, 100% the pitching matchup. He actually was really, really pissed that the Padres blew that save. He thought he had that one home last night. But, yeah, he liked the pitching matchup. And, you know, it's the Red Sox just aren't great, right? Right now they are really, really struggling. Cleveland's not a great team either, but like you said, when he's on the mound, they're pretty darn tough to beat. They're the favorites in Boston tonight, or today or tonight, whenever that game starts. But, yeah, the pitching matchup was the big indicator for him.
I like it. I love me some Tristan McKenzie. I mean, he's one of those under-the-radar starters, and when he starts dealing, he's awfully tough to hit. We'll head out to Del Mar for my best bet here. We're going to go to race 5. We're going to go to the number 1 horse, Midnight Memories, out of the Bob Baffert barn. This horse was really interesting to me, and I know you both talked about how we've got to take a look at these Baffert horses when they're getting back under his care. Midnight Memory is one of the horses that really succeeded without being in the Baffert barn. The horse starts out its career 2 for 2, winning a maiden special weight and then an optional 50K at Santa Anita for Sean McCarthy. What really jumped out to me here was that prior to being in the Sean McCarthy barn, a bunch of bullet works. In the Sean McCarthy barn, no bullet works. After being back in the Bob Baffert barn, all of a sudden this horse is working lights out again, including a 59 and change here coming into this specific race, 59 flat, out of a gate, 4 of 82. So for a horse that didn't show a ton of speed in its first 2 races, all of a sudden getting back into a barn where it's showing a bunch of speed, I think is an absolutely wonderful setup. This is one of those where I just think this horse is going to improve a lot under Baffert and really doesn't even need to improve that much here to win. The 3-horse Dance to the Music is going to be the big competition. Who is going to go out there, set the pace, coming out of the Grade 3 Desert Stormer last time out, running a good second to a horse that won back next time. So I do think this 9-5 actually could hold somewhere around there. My guess is we end up in the 7-5 range. But for me, Midnight Memories is a standout over the Del Mar card. Aaron, did you have any feelings about Midnight Memories in this spot?
Yeah, I like Midnight Memories a lot. And it's really interesting how that Baffert thing ended up working out, because Tim Yakteen gets the big horses immediately and does nothing with them. And Sean McCarthy kind of gets ones that are like, I don't really know who they are, or yeah, we've heard of them. And all of a sudden, like, McCarthy's horses are running off the screen and Yakteen horse can't get a win. So it's really odd how it worked out, but I'm with you. This horse 2 for 2 looks sharp. Was bet down to debut and won, was bet hard again and won. So I'm with you. I think that's a good one.
You got Grace Adler, the 5, coming in here for Bob Baffert as well, who actually beat Dance to the Music at Del Mar, going 7 furlongs in the Del Mar Debutante, a grade 1 last year over this course. Jared, when you're taking a look at these Baffert horses, are you interested in playing, like, do you try and just throw Dance to the Music out completely in this spot, play a Baffert exacted? Do you think someone else can pop in here? Did you have any feelings about this specific race?
Yeah, I saw, in our text earlier about you considering this horse, and so I was looking over the race, and Grace Adler's interesting. She has to be, right? Because you look at her first 2 races, and she looked like she was the next, Baffert, freak filly, and then she just was. I mean, you basically draw lines through those races. The Chandelier and the Star. I mean, she just never even ran, right? And so the fact that we haven't seen her since December, she's been working great. We have the whole Bob Baffert thing. You got to think, like, she's the one that scares me the most for your horse, because, like, would it be that surprising if the other Bob Baffert, the horse that was once a freak, just kind of runs off the screen? So she's interesting, I think, more interesting than, say, I would rather, than playing like the 3 Dance to the Music. I think you go to either single the one or just play the Bafferts. Yeah,
I mean, I'm most likely going to just be singling the one on my tickets when it comes down to it. I think that's the best way to kind of go through it. But I agree with you. I'm more scared of Grace Adler than I am of Dance to the Music in this spot. The one concern with Dance to the Music is she gets loose and just doesn't stop. But I think Grace Adler and Midnight Memories are both going to be close enough to kind of cause some trouble there. All right, let's head over to Saratoga here. We've got Aaron's best bet coming at you from the first race at Saratoga. I haven't checked the odds and update here, but let's talk a little bit about race number 1, Aaron, in Saratoga.
Yeah, 7-5 now on my choice. Live odds right now, 51 minutes opposed. The number 4, Inventing, for Todd Pletcher, dropping back into the maiden special weight ranks after trying the Acorn last time out, and that was not what she needed to be doing. But if you remember, we all kind of were like, well, that is the one horse that has speed in that race, and maybe she can get out and not put a scare into Maturea, but maybe, hold on for second at a big price. But she ended up being 3-1 because everybody scratched out of the race. She's back here in the maiden special weight ranks, and like I said, finished second at this level 2 times in a row. The main challenger is number 5, Aunt Naughty, a horse that's had a lot of chances and just hasn't been able to get it done. I think the number 4, Inventing, will do well stretching out to 1.125 miles today. I think she just gets out in front and tries to take him gate to wire. So number 4, Inventing, for me at Saratoga in the first race, going to be where I'm going to go.
Yeah, I have Inventing on top 2. I thought this was a good spot for her. I think the interesting part is going to be the early pace and what Aunt Naughty does here. I thought the 2 and the 3 were both interesting coming from off it. If the 4 and the 5 kind of hook up early. So I ended up 2 deep in this spot. Jared, what did you think of Inventing here in race 1 at Saratoga?
Yeah, I think she's a pretty. I think that's a good pick for Halterman. If she can stay there. She's 7-5 currently. Any horse that I get that the scratches and stuff, but 3-1 in the Acorn, and now is back to the maiden special weight ranks. She's gonna be tough. I don't see a reason why they don't just try to go gate to wire. And I could see this just being just kind of a cruise control kind of race.
Yeah, you want to be forwardly placed, especially over Saratoga's track going 1.125 miles. And this is Union Rags out of a Giants Causeway mare. So you'd expect that the 1.125 miles, absolutely no problem here for the Pletcher trainee. So Aaron going with the number 4 horse here in the first race at Saratoga. Let's jump back over to Del Mar. Jared going to the stakes race today, the 7th over at Del Mar, which is going to be the $175,000 Fleet Treat Stakes. Jared, who you like here going 7 furlongs?
Yeah, I kind of been back and forth with a few different options here, but ultimately landed on this race at Del Mar. Like you said, the feature race, state bred race at Del Mar. And, let's talk about Bob Baffert. We haven't talked about him enough on this show yet. Number 5, Fun to Dream, is going to be my best bet. 5-2 morning line. I haven't seen this horse since May. We talked about Sean McCarthy, right, earlier. Formerly trained, right, by Sean McCarthy for a little bit. And look what this horse has been doing. Like you said, Somich right on cue. This horse has been working out.
Hey, July 1st, bullets.
Yeah, it's like bullets. And, this is owned by Mrs. Baffert as well. So, this horse has got some potential. And look, it's an arrogant horse. So I'm biased with that as well. You don't see many arrogant Calbreds, right? So that to me was very interesting. And the fact that this horse debuted in May, and just completely romped. I get it was a maiden special weight at 160 furlongs at Santa Anita, but I don't, like Halterman said earlier, 5-2. It's fun to dream, right? At 5-2, because there's no way we get 5-2 at that horse. But I think what was the biggest thing for me was, yes, I think this horse is probably the best horse in the race. It's Bob Baffert. You got the Hernandez back, all those things that I like to see. But okay, the 4 is your favorite morning line. This is a turf horse, right? Well, last 2 have been on turf, so that was interesting. And then the other horse, number 3, Opening Buzz, debuted at Golden Gate on the synthetic, and you just don't know. Like, the 1, last 2 have been on turf, and so it just feels like, the 4 has been quick. That might be the scariest part about the 4, but to me, Bob Baffert's a standout in this race.
I love the fact that Fun to Dream was professional in the first start, didn't go gate to wire, and I think that's going to matter a lot here. The 3 and the 4 that you mentioned could easily hook up here, and you could see 21-44 with the Baffert horse just sitting behind, licking its chops.
Yeah, it's sitting or drawing to the outside of both of those. I think is perfect because you let them do whatever they want to do, and Hernandez should be able to just be like, hey, do it. And if they don't break well or whatever, if they just aren't fast enough, well, the 5 can just go get to the lead, So there's a lot of options for the 5 as well.
Yeah, I thought the draw was great. The setup was great. I was a little interested in the 2 Tam's Little Angel to kind of play underneath 8-1. And the 7 furlongs here is the key to me. You've got a lot of horses who clearly can go 6. Can they get 7? We know Tam's Little Angel can't been going a mile or mile 16. So I like the pace setup for the 2 horse cutting back here at a little bit of a price to be able to get a slice underneath. But I do agree with Jared here. I think the 5 is the top pick. Got a couple questions here in the chat. The most common one that's coming up is, where is Ness going? So real quick, guys, do you think Ness heads to the Travers, heads to the Alabama? And then what would you do if you own Ness? Which one would you go to? Because I think we all, I'll kick it to you first, Jared. Travers or Alabama, where does she go?
That's a good question. I mean, I think she's more likely. I would put her the morning line favorite for the Alabama. I hope they go Travers, because one, I'm biased, and we all want to see the filly try that, But 2, she was so good, and what is there about her that you don't think she can compete? We saw it. She damn near won the Belmont Stakes with a better trip. Maybe she does, or it's very, very close to Mo Donegal, who, by the way, is not in the picture now. So, yeah, and she's bred to go. I get they're both long races, but if you're going to beat the boys, for her, you're going to do it in one of these big, the mile and quarter, mile and a half almost in the Belmont. So to me, Nest, if he enters her in the Travers, she is extremely dangerous, because that'd be twice. So they've tried this. He obviously feels like she can do it.
The Travers already loaded, or at least it looks like it's going to be loaded. It'd be great to add Ness to that list. I think she's going to be in the Alabama. I'd like to see her in the Travers. Aaron, what about you? Where do you think she's going to end up, and where do you want her to end up?
It's going to be hard for the connections to pass up 1-9 in a grade 1 race, right? And that's what she's going to be in the Alabama. There's just no reason to think Secret Oath is going to be able to turn the tables with more distance. No. More distance is going to help Nest. And whoever else comes, more distance is going to help Nest. She's best at going longer, I think, even though she didn't look too bad going a mile and an eighth, fellas. That was a pretty good race last time out. I think she could win the Travers. If she was mine, I would give it a shot, but I don't blame them at all for being 1-9 to win a grade 1 again at Saratoga in the Alabama. I'm not gonna argue with that. I think that makes sense. I think that's the most logical spot for her. But I think a big part of it is, okay, I definitely think she can beat Cyberknife and Taba after what I saw last week. I don't think Taba's coming to the Travers anyway, because the trainer can't even run there. So I don't think we have to worry about him. And let's see what happens with early voting. And let's see what happens this weekend with those horses in Epicenter and Zandon. Maybe one runs off the screen. It's like, okay, pause. Let's go to the Alabama. Hey, if they're average, maybe we're even money to win a grade 1 in the Travers, right? I don't know. We'll see. What about Charge It? That's a stablemate. And so we'll see what happens with this, but I think the Alabama's where she'll end up. Do I want her to end up the Travers? Yeah, absolutely, I do.
Yeah, it's more interesting with her in the Travers.
Yeah.
I think that's the main thing. Like the Alabama would be more interesting without her because it's going to be a more competitive race versus kind of okay, do you chalk out or do you try and beat her? And then do you feel dumb in the lane when she opens up by 8? So, one of those situations you kind of would rather have her in the Travers just because it makes both of those races a little bit better. Well, thank you very much for everyone for joining us here on Dudes Who Bet Daily. Let's review the picks here real quick. We got Papa Dude sending in the Guardians, wants to take a shot with Cleveland tonight. T-Mac Day. Let's hope we can get that one home. Aaron, headed to Saratoga. We'll find out how he does really quick. Race 1 going off in about 38 minutes from now. Oh, no, I'm sorry, 43 minutes from now. We got that 105 post time. Taking the number 4, morning line 9 to 5. Jared and I both playing Bafferts. Jared headed to the feature, taking the number 5 and the 7th at 5 to 2. I'm going to go with the kind of other feature to the 5th race. I'm going to take the 1 horse at 9 to 5. So we got 2 Bafferts. We got a Pletcher. We got the Guardians. Let's have a nice little 4-0 day here. We've got 2 back-to-back winning weeks. We're trying to make it 3 in a row. Thank you very much for joining us here, Dudes Who Bet Daily. We will be back every Wednesday through Sunday at 12 p.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific for more Dudes Who Bet Daily. Good luck today.